Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Albert.
Hey, what's up, though? I hate them. That's hating on. They both. I hate them. Hating on. And they both broke.
Hi, everybody. So cool to be here. I think before you can even why I'm here today, we have to understand where I came from. And my family came to Montreal in 1980, escaping the aftermath of the Vietnam War. And the communist regime had won the war. And so, like many others, my grandparents made the impossible decision to leave everything behind. My grandfather led the way with my grandmother, 4 daughters, and 2 sons, all chasing this idea of a better life. And in the East, we were taught Western education was the highest learning we could get. Go to the prestigious schools, learn from the West, learn from the best, they would say. So growing up in Montreal, I was really lucky. It's a diverse city with so much to offer. And we didn't have much. We lived in a cramped, low-income neighborhood in Verdun. We were 8 people sharing a 2-bedroom apartment. Montreal had a large immigrant population, but we were still separated in our own little worlds. The Vietnamese kids would stay with the Vietnamese kids, and the Italians with the Italians, and so on. And from a young age, I found the love of basketball. That had opened the door to so many things because it was so diverse. I met all kinds of kids from all kinds of different backgrounds. I really, truly believe that basketball was the starting point of all my interests. And I found myself torn between wanting to honor my Vietnamese roots and trying to fit in a really white world, basically. And there was a huge conflict. So for a long time, I always wanted to be white. I thought I'd never succeed in the world or move up if I wasn't. And that's like such a sad realization for a kid in the 90s. It's like all your friends were white, and honestly, you'd forget you weren't. But then someone would remind you, and sometimes in the most obvious way, or subtly through microaggressions. So I tried to ignore my Vietnamese heritage, and I thought that erasing it would help me belong. So now I wonder, what does that say about us? Were we not smart enough? Not capable to create our own high learning institutions? All the while, fashion and style has always been a way of expressing myself, and a way of telling the world who I am and what I liked and what I stood for. The way you dress can speak volumes, and it can say, I belong here, or I belong to that group, right? And I figured that out pretty early. Growing up, I always had many different types of passions, and first came basketball, and then sneakers, and then graffiti, and then becoming a designer. And every subculture had their own visual codes, and I saw how clothes shaped people's identities. But cool clothes weren't always a priority for an immigrant family. Education was way more valuable. So at 19 years old, I had built a big interest in graffiti. I thought that a design career looked like a decent way to fuel my graffiti habit while I was having a creative job during the day. Honestly, in looking back, graffiti was probably my first taste of typography. Graffiti lettering was like a code for other graffiti writers. It was a way to be seen, even by a small group of people. And to think of it, I think I always wanted to be seen in whatever I was doing. So when it came to choose my path, I made this in 2002. I dove into design at Concordia. My mom wasn't thrilled by the idea at all. To her, being an artist wouldn't make any money. I remember her saying explicitly this is never going to work. And when you ask her today, she'll completely deny that. The funny thing about at this time was I had actually no idea what graphic design was, and it shows. And I still dove in head first, you know. It was actually my aunt who proposed to me that I could have a career in design because her friend did so. Thanks to her, really. So I was introduced to, the icons of designs like Massimo Vignelli and Max Mittinger and Edward Hoffman. Minimalism, function, precision. Like these white dudes had laid the foundation of design the entire world would follow. So naturally, I started dressing like what designers was supposed to look like. And at the time, it meant you were modern, contemporary, everything was a little long. And of course, it's all black with thick rimmed glasses. I was that kind of designer, very severe, but like something was always off. So as a creative, I believe that we're always in research mode. Ideas come from everywhere, and I say that all the time. And one of my favorite activities was shopping. Well, it's still shopping, but not even shopping, it's like window shopping. So I like to go and touch and feel product. So I was at Simon's in Montreal, and these orange acne pants caught my eye. And during this time, like I said earlier, like I was never looking at color. Everything I either wanted was always black or white. So I picked them up, I inspected them, put them back down, and did that a few times. Like the store employee must have thought I was completely going through a crisis or something. How much I was like walking away and coming back. But I think deeply I had a yearning for change. And I needed something different. And that meant owning a pair of orange pants. So I remember thinking, like, there's no way. Not a chance. These pants are way too loud. But when I put them on, something shifted, like something felt different. And so as I was standing in front of the mirror, and like all the mood board images of like street fashion photography in Asia were like flashing through my mind, and I was like, oh, Asians have the dopest and carefree style. I could wear cow print pants tomorrow and no one would bat an eye. So at that moment, it hit me. I could wear whatever I wanted. I could rock these orange pants. I could stand out and not care about fitting in. The Japanese had a long history of personal style, dating back to the 60s when they took on Ivy style, and then still the best to do it today in the Harajuku district with their own over-the-top colorful outfits. And not to mention Vietnam was always vibrant and elegant. It was a really strange realization, but those orange pants, as stupid as it sounds, they helped me embrace my Asian identity. And that sparked a whole other set of questions. Like, what the fuck, right? Like, why did I spend so much of my life trying to be something I wasn't? And the voices in the society was always whispering, like, don't stand out, look like us, right? And I realized that so many of us immigrants unknowingly put white culture on a pedestal. And we viewed them as the correct way of being or doing or whatever. And especially to never rock the proverbial boat. So I had grown up admiring Western design legends, but I never questioned why we would make it the gold standard. Was it maybe out of survival? But then, what about the other voices in design? What about the design ethos of the East? And that was my turning point. The inspiration came from the dense, vibrant cities of Asia, overflowing with signs, colors, massive populations, and tight quarters. Asia wasn't built like the West, especially in North America. The population is so dense. We live very closely together, and a lot of times, on top of each other, we would build high rises for that. And there were more people, which meant more cars, more traffic, more businesses. And the urban areas of Asia can be filled with big, bold signage always vying for your attention. So I stopped chasing minimalism. I started embracing maximalism. Loud, bold, chaotic. I took my work to another level, filling artboards with work while keeping fundamentals in mind. Both could coexist. So I started bending every rule I'd been taught. If Vignali said, one typeface is enough, I would say, how about 7? And this graphic tee was designed for the Spring 21 collection of Raised by Wolves. Or even mixing languages. So I was approached to design graphics for a collaboration for Lunar New Year in 2021 between Essence and music label 88 Rising. So we created this is wild again, completely unlawful. So the masters would say, logos must be clean and legible. So I said, what if it was completely unreadable but recognizable? So Curie Caverne is a bike shop in Montreal founded by ex-bike messengers with a gritty punk DIY background. Like they never fit in, and I wanted this branding to be exactly that, unconformist. By compromising legibility, and I focused on the overall shape to make it recognizable. Today it's become one of Montreal's, today's become like synonymous with cycling in Montreal. Here's a bit more fun. And from there, my career took shape. I felt like I was doing the best work of my life. I really did. I brought that energy to everything I did. From the Bay, RIP, Essence, Little Burgundy, and now Browns. So I would merge my roots, my counterculture influences, and my love of design and art into something that only I could create. So what did this mean? And what was the point, right? And then 3 years ago, I launched my brand, Double Dribble, a lifestyle clothing brand for people like me, because I know there's a lot of us out there. And I took my life experiences, history, and love of basketball to make a weird lifestyle basketball brand. And until this point, I had always worked for other people, developing their own clothes. But with Double Dribble, I could have full control of what the output looked like and what the storytelling was. I could tap into a culture and whatever was around to create this brand, combining design, the arts, entertainment, fashion, and music. Basketball brands, for the most part, were stuck in this era, that's like a very competitive space. If you think about the Nikes of the world, the Adidas of the world. And it was always often siloed too. And I wanted to combine an elevated fashion look to all while hitting on humor and tell lesser known stories of basketball around the world and especially outside of North America. A brand for every basketball lover around the world. So this video is something we call like a brand visualizer, and this was made specifically for the 23-24 season, where the focus was regarding Japan and its relationship to basketball. And this is exactly the type of example of stories I wanted to tell. At 42, Double Dribble is the culmination of my past work experience, my life experience, and like diverse interests. So, okay, too long, didn't read, okay? Like, what's this guy going on about? Like, what's he saying? What I'm trying to say is be who you are authentically and innately. Don't hold back. You don't have to be like me, and dive into maximalism. If minimalism is your thing, go for it, if it's true to you. So sometimes you just have to put on the loudest clothes in your closet and realize your identity was never lost. So those pants, those orange pants specifically, taught me something simple but powerful. You can't find your identity by trying to fit in someone else's clothes. Thank ya.